Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome everyone. So as you can see, we're on tour again. And we're in a very, very special place.
Sacred.
Sacred, holy place. Hopefully not sacred, holy, haunted place. This is Old Vrindavan. We'll let Jagammohini Mataji tell us a little bit about it if you...
Yeah, so Old Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada, well actually the devotees came here in 1968. How it goes that there was a local person that was, I don't quite know the ins and outs why he was selling the land. Anyway, he wanted it to go to a spiritual community, and it was the devotees in New York that saw the advert in the paper about, you know, the land was up for lease. We hear it's 99 acres of land for 99-year lease for $99, and that's why we're here in New Vrindavan. So they came in 1968, actually, Kirtananda, and also he was here by himself, and then other devotees came. And then Prabhupada visited, once they got settled actually, the first cow was here, so they had 4 cows, and then Prabhupada came in 1969 of June. So it was a very, very special place. And actually Prabhupada actually said to the devotees, he said, "This is the best milk I've tasted in 50 years. So yeah, this is how it began here. And Prabhupada visited again in 72, 74 and 76 was his last visit. And that's when they were also building a Palace of Gold in 72. And Prabhupada got to see some of the construction, but unfortunately...
He must have been 76, no?
76 was when he saw that. There's a picture there. In 76 on his last visit, but it wasn't actually ready for him to use. But yeah, special place. We just had 50-year celebration back in June the 7th, for 50 years of Prabhupada being here, installing Sri Radha and that, and also Sri Radha Madhava, the small brass deities that you see on the altar. Not the very small ones, but the medium and larger ones. So, yeah.
Radha and Chandra were installed here first, right?
Yeah,
And they're small. I think there's a picture. And amazing. So this is where it really all began. This is New Vrindavan. This is now called Old Vrindavan. Old New Vrindavan.
In West Virginia. No, Pennsylvania.
Yes, no, West Virginia.
So it's a great place if you want to be off-grid, no electricity, and you just use the well water.
That's just this place.
Nature.
Yeah, that's this Old Vrindavan.
New Vrindavan, the rest of it has...
Down the hill.
Yeah, if you want electricity and water.
They got fajitas as well down there.
Yeah, we're going to go for a Philly later.
Philly sandwich.
Okay, so here we are in the sacred place, and also, of course, I guess, you know, for us, a little extra special because this is where Radhanath Maharaj stayed for, you know, many years, serving directly the deities, small deities, Radha
Vrindavan Nath.
Yeah, Radha Vrindavan Nath, right? Radha Vrindavan Nath. And so.
That was 1973. In actual fact, Maharaj, on that day of June the 7th, was his 50th anniversary of being initiated by Srila Prabhupada, because he was initiated in 1973 on June the 7th.
On the day they installed Radha Vrindavan Nath here, so they moved Radha Vrindavan Chandra down, and the idea was to build, I think, the 7 temples, right? 7 different temples on the 7 different hills, and there was a whole thing like that. So
anyway, this is the original altar where we're sitting, basically.
It's the very first.
This is the very first temple and very first altar. So, okay, so we're going to read the Bhagavatam here, and just so you know, there's also a very large black snake that lives here and protects the property.
Yes.
And he or she, I don't think we know which one it is.
May make an appearance.
May make an appearance, and if it does, she will make a disappearance.
I will.
And we'll just chant.
And we probably won't be far behind. But I was trying to move the camera to catch it. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, let's read Bhagavatam. We can, where are we?
Oh God. Canto 4, Chapter 6, Text 31.
And what's the chapter title?
Title is Brahma Satisfied Lord Shiva.
Okay. So we'll say the invocation all together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Maybe Jagannatha, you can start. Just a translation.
Translation. They also saw that the bathing ghats and their staircases were made of the Vadyaramani. The water was full of lotus flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached a place where there was a great banyan tree.
But you can keep reading. But by the way, I think we neglected to introduce Jagannatha. She's been in several readings now across the years. She sort of makes an annual appearance. Last time we were here, we read together in March. So
in the temple.
For those of you who don't know, this is Mother Jagamohini. She serves here now.
But we know her from ISKCON London.
They know me from when I was very young.
Bhakti and Julia.
When I came
from Southampton, right?
to the temple. They were
Long
very
time.
special friends. Translation on text 32. That banyan tree was 800 miles high and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds. Purport. Generally in every tree there are birds' nests, and the birds congregate in the evening and create noise. But it appears that this banyan tree was devoid of nests, and therefore it was calm, quiet and peaceful. There were no disturbances from noise or heat, and therefore this place was just suitable for meditation. I was thinking we could do a big banyan tree here. This is quite
Yeah. I mean, it can be quite amazing when you read how big things are, numbers of things, like we were just hearing the other day that, not Nanda Maharaj, it was, we were hearing the call, and we hear Ambarish Maharaj, after performing the austerities that he performed in Kartik, he gave 600 million cows in charity. Like 600 would be alive, 60, but even 6 would be alive. 600 million. So then you hear here that the tree is 800 miles high. 800 miles high. Okay, so we drove here from Frederick, and I reckon it was probably
200.
No, more than that. It was much more than that. So it took us 3.5
hours.
No, you're probably right. It must be around 200 miles, because 3.5 hours it takes to go 200 miles. So that took us 3 hours to drive here 200 miles, so 4 times that.
Wow.
That's how high it is. You know, when you put these things in perspective, that is a very big tree, ladies and gentlemen. And then 600 miles around with the branches. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that would come in handy, wouldn't it?
And it's cooling.
And the birds, so no noise of birds. Of course, you know, I guess there's 2 things with birds. Some bird noises are annoying, especially like crows. You know, but parrots and other birds, especially in the morning time, that sound.
Peacocks.
And peacocks, yes, thank you.
We have many peacocks here.
Peacocks is it's actually quite a sweet sound, you know. But, you know, in London, or in out near the manor where we're staying at the moment, we had to start parking the car elsewhere because there's a tree that hangs over where I was parking the car. And it's not so much the noise that I would say was annoying, it was more the remnants of what they leave behind when they hang out. It gets all over your car. So,
the poop-mobile.
it's definitely like covered a couple of times.
But they also go quiet. It's like when we have storms here, we can get quite big storms here. And then when the storm comes, before the actual storm comes, there's like a lull, and you cannot hear anything. The birds stop. They hide in the trees, and actually the peacocks go in the tree. Actually, they don't bomb you down. It's like silence before the lightning and thunder comes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Bhava, would you like to...
Text 33. The demigods saw Lord Shiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger.
Wow.
Purport. In this verse, the word Mahayogamaya, Mayi, is very significant. Yoga means meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Mahayoga means those who engage in the devotional service of Vishnu. Meditation means remembering, smaranam. There are 9 kinds of devotional service, of which smaranam is one process. The yogi remembers the form of Vishnu within his heart. Thus, there were many devotees engaged in meditation on Lord Vishnu under the big banyan tree. So we were sitting under the tree, meditating.
I mean, just remember, the circumference is 600 miles. I mean, a few people could sit under that tree and you wouldn't know. You could just go 1 mile over there and you wouldn't know someone. You don't even know someone sitting 100 yards over there. So, yeah, I mean, it's like unfathomable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Nice scene though.
The Sanskrit word maha is derived from the affix mahat. This affix is used when there is a great number or quantity. So, Maha Yoga indicates that there were many great yogis and devotees meditating on the form of Lord Vishnu. That's so funny. Remember, maybe we'll look when we get back, but there was one car in the parking lot as we were pulled in. I said, or we walked by it to go with the prasadam, and the license plate was Mahat. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, Mahat, that term Mahat. I mean, Mahant means like someone who's in charge of the, a great person or a person who's in charge of the temple or something. In Vrindavan, they're known as Mahants. But I saw Mahat. Of course, we hear Mahatma, Mahatma Gandhi or Mahatma, but Mahat. So here, it's interesting. This is what happens when you come to the Holy Dham, synchronicities. You even have a question in your mind, and then it manifests.
It's amazing.
So Mahat. Okay. Generally, such meditators are desirous of liberation from material bondage, and they are promoted to the spiritual world, to one of the Vaikunthas. Liberation means freedom from material bondage or nescience. In the material world, we are suffering life after life because of our bodily identification, and liberation is freedom from that miserable condition of life. So liberation in its simplest form, really it just means to be liberated from the modes of material nature. So that's why this verse, goodness, what's the, out of many, many thousands of men? Anyone remembers how that begins? Anyway, gosh, Mahashastra. I can't remember. Out of many thousands of men, only one endeavors for perfection, and out of those who have achieved perfection, Krishna says, hardly one knows me in truth. And people often ask them, whenever we teach them this in Bhakti Shastra, they think, well, wait a minute, how can people who achieve perfection hardly know Krishna? Then how did they get perfection? But our understanding of perfection is very kind of clear and refined, that perfection means to really understand who is Krishna, Janma Karma Shime Divyam. But perfection in a general term means just to achieve transcendence, which means can be impersonal, could be, a Buddhist person could achieve transcendence because they become liberated from the modes, the influence of the modes of material nature. So that in and of itself is liberation, but the liberation that I guess devotees of Krishna or Gaudiyas we're searching for is a specific kind of liberation, which means first and foremost we don't actually really even desire so much. Oh, that's a little complicated. We don't really desire, our goal isn't really to go and be with Krishna, our goal is simply to serve Krishna. And that no matter whether we have to go to the hellish worlds to do that, or be here in the earthly plane, or we go back to the spiritual world, it's okay, you know. We just want to serve Krishna. But of course, Prabhupada, you know, introduced and helped us to understand this term back to Godhead, which I think you were saying, just growing up as a Hindu or Indian type in that kind of culture, even going back to Godhead wasn't something that was discussed. You know. So it means just getting out of the material world and going back to the spiritual sky with Krishna.
You said some in some of the places in the Bhagavatam where actually liberation knocks at the devotee's door.
Say that again.
Liberation is knocking at the door.
That's right, nice, yes.
And I'm trying to think what verse that is in the Bhagavatam.
I think it's in a song by Bhaktivedanta Swami. He says also, liberation is knocking at my door.
Yeah.
Nice.
Prabhupada also said in the classes that actually we're already liberated when we're chanting the Maha Mantra and practicing Bhakti Yoga. So we're not actually looking for that because it's already there. And that's why liberation knocks on the door of the devotee. Can I serve you?
Nice point. Okay, so I think we have time to read text 34.
Okay. 34.
Text 34 translation. Lord Shiva sat there surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the master of the Gulyakas, and the 4 Kumaras who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly. Do you do the purport here?
No, you can.
Okay. Purport. The personalities sitting with Lord Shiva are significant because the 4 Kumaras were liberated from birth. It may be remembered that after their birth, these Kumaras were requested by their father to get married and to get children in order to increase the population of the newly created universe. But they refused, and at that time, Lord Brahma was angry. In that angry mood, Rudra, or Lord Shiva, was born. Thus, they were intimately related. Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, is fabulously rich. Thus, Lord Shiva's association with the Kumaras and the Kuvera indicates that he has all transcendental material opulences. Actually, he is the qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his position is very exalted. Wow, that's a nice verse.
Yeah, and again, we just visited Radha Gopinath temple, which is still under construction. It's a temple that is being built by Varshana Maharaj. And just down behind the temple, we went to visit. Shiva Linga. So Lord Shiva did that. Does that Lord Shiva have a name there specifically? So there are four Shivas that guard different entrances. They guard the entrances to the Dham. So when you enter the Dham, if you offer your respects to Lord Shiva, then you can gain entry into the Dham. So it's actually really important to know that they're there, because down around the temple there isn't a Shiva deity, right?
No.
So I know Gopeshwar Mahadev is one of them. I can't remember the name of the other 4, but yeah, like that. So we were just with Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
He's actually like such a devotee of Lord Krishna. Actually, I remember when I did school program and we were speaking about Lord Shiva, and I asked Shavin to come because he's actually family Lord Shiva worshippers, and he was Lord Shiva worship. And I always wondered, because he used to bring his like little Lord Shiva with him, and then what happens is that when Radhalandanishwar, when the lordships have eaten, then the Lord Shiva takes the Maha, like we do. So he was asked the question, why does it then that you're now sort of worshipping, like Krishna? And he says, well, because I still love Lord Shiva, but he said, I was always wondering who he was praying to. And he realized it's Krishna, and then he became
Krishna Bhakti.
So but still he has love for Lord Shiva, because he was one that brought him to the lotus feet. Krishna.
That's
Very
nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Vaishnavanam yata shambhu.
Yeah.
This is Lord Shiva is the greatest of devotees. And of course, this whole pastime has been in glorification.
Yeah.
But also I think it's interesting, it mentions this the connection, of course, between the Kumaras and the Kuvera. And we were just reading about Kuvera and his opulence, because he has a really opulent place right next to this tree, and right next to Mount Kailash. And it's described that he is just, it says here, fabulously rich, but it was describing he's just so wealthy because he's the accountant for the demigods. He's the head of finance for the demigods. So obviously pays well. And we were saying, well, hopefully not like that. I don't think he's doing that. Let's not accuse Kuvera of cheating. Yes,
I think
don't want to get off on the wrong foot.
Krishna might have something to say about
that. Sorry.
Yeah, so
if you do that, then all come and will follow, and then what will happen?
But also here at the beginning, it mentions that the Kumaras were liberated from birth, because at the beginning they decided not to get married and become progenitors, but actually to remain renunciants. So in that way they were considered liberated. But we understand that they were Brahman liberated. They were Brahmavadis. So they weren't actually Krishna Bhaktas.
No, they were impersonalists.
They were impersonalists. And it was only when the pastime with Jai and Vijay happened that they smelled the aroma emanating from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, that they transformed and became personalists and developed love and attachment for the Lord. So like that. It's very
the
powerful.
aroma was Tulsi.
Yes. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Okay, so I think we can maybe finish there. Yeah? Okay. All right, thank you all very much for tuning in to Bhagavatam Bites. Thank you, Jagamohini Mati, for joining us. And she's giving us a little tour around and brought us to this sacred place. She is a Dambasi, New Vrindavan Dambasi.
Please come if you really get to come. Just call us up. We'll organize something for you.
You can meet Jagamohini.
You can meet the Lordships.
Haribol, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, New Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Old Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Thago Premanandi.